Hello, everybody. John Cheplack here, author of Interrupt the Pattern. I want to welcome you to our second episode of Interruptions of Inspiration, where I interview people just like you that have experienced moments in life, as we all do, that brought them to a point of choice. Whether due to experiences of their past or a dramatic moment that caused them to pause and interrupt the pattern, these people today are true leaders in life and have a desire to share their journey to inspire you. About 4 years ago, I was walking down the sidewalk in South Beach, Miami, the night before the NPC National Championships for men's physique, just taking it easy before we go on stage the next day. Saw a guy walking across the street that stood out, and I knew he'd be on stage the next day. You could just tell. We'd never met. Ironically, 24 hours later, I remembered him, and he was tough to forget. He'd walk off the stage, the national champion, and earned his IFBB Pro card. A few weeks later, we connected through social media, discovered he was in real estate. We built a friendship from there. My mentor said the best way to get to truly know someone is travel with them. Over time, Miguel Aguilar and I traveled to events and got to know each other real well. Anyone that knows me knows that although in a role that takes me in the public space, I'm an extreme introvert in my personal life. Then, of course, there are people that show up that have something special about them. To me, specialness is transparency. I knew there was something special about Miguel after truly getting to know him, admiring his work ethic, his walk as a family man, and goodness in his heart. His greatest strength of transparency was the one piece that shined through above all. Today, I'm honored to have Miguel with me to share his journey to inspire each and every one of you. Miguel, in between opening your second gym in less than a year, husband, father, two beautiful girls, flipping houses, and a top real estate agent in your marketplace. And then I forgot, I don't know how many different cars, motorcycles, and things that you're constantly rehabbing. I can't even keep up with you. I want to thank you, and I know everyone else will after they hear this, for taking the time to contribute to others that I know will be inspired by your story. So thanks for being here, Miguel.
I truly greatly appreciate it. I think it's humbling and honoring at the same time.
Good. So let's just go back to Sacramento. I remember we were, and we've laughed. I think you still probably laugh at how much bread I can eat, right?
Yes, you devoured it in about 2.5 seconds, my friend.
Yeah. Well, anyways, though, in between, I don't know. I think we got in Sacramento for a men's physique competition. At that point, I think you had gotten your pro card, and we were just driving around picking up stuff that we needed. And you went into your story. Take us back. Let's just jump right in. Talk about your childhood and the upbringing and the experiences that you had.
It's a very difficult story. It's a story or it's a past that I try to keep sheltered for so long, but yet, and I don't disclose a lot of it upfront with a lot of people. But to you, John, me and you, like you said, we hit it off, and I felt very comfortable letting you know where I've been and what's happened. Since a young age, I mean, I can remember from the age of 4 to 5, I've always been in a broken household where I literally lived in every part of San Diego and Riverside County that you can possibly think of. It was one of those situations where my mother was a troubled woman, and created a lot of conflict between my father and my husband, and I mean my father and my mother. But I was pretty much, ran around everywhere. And by the age of 12, my mother kind of met up with my father again and left us with him. Did promise to return, and she never did. So at the age of 12, I was abandoned by my mom, left with my father. My father already remarried and had a separate life, from us. And with that being said, we kind of just got thrown in the mix with my dad. He already remarried, so we had somewhat of a stepmom, and he took us in. Well, within that, year, it was one of those situations where he wasn't prepared for it. The new family wasn't prepared for it, and it created a lot of headache where my dad became an alcoholic and did some very wrong things in his lifetime. So from the age of 12 to 16, it just got worse and worse and worse with his alcoholism, and he just, he drank pretty much his pain away, you would think, right? As I reflect back now. Back then, we just, it was second nature to us. We're used to it.
Sure.
So my dad, at the age of 16, and I was going to 17, my junior year in high school, he did something very, very wrong where he actually was arrested and incarcerated. And within that week, that, from the day he got arrested to the day he sentenced, we're with my stepmom. My stepmom, she ended up going to court telling us, me and my younger brother, go to school, we'll handle this, and you go to school and we'll take care of what's happening with your dad. So, of course, we didn't get a chance to go the day they sentenced him, but, that day, went to school like nothing else, went to my wrestling practice like nothing else, and came home that evening with my brother, and we noticed a bunch of stuff packed and outside our door. And we go to open our door, and it was locked. And we're knocking on it, and we kind of figured out, our stuff that was packed, it was our stuff. And kept knocking on the door. Finally, she answered the door and said, "Your dad got 9 years, and I can't take care of you guys." Mm-hmm. And, of course, first instinct, we already started crying, me and my brother, and we're like, what are we supposed to do? Where do we go? And her exact words were, figure it out. Whoa. And that was hard. It was one of the situations where you gotta have to pull yourself together. Luckily, I did have a car. Put everything in the car. Me and my brother drove around, and at that point, we became homeless. Jumping from friend to friend to stay at their places and shower and get ready. And if I posted this before where people in high school didn't even know that that was our situation. We just played it off pretty well. And finally, luckily, I was fortunate enough that my wrestling coach found out what happened. My assistant wrestling coach, his name's Chris Gillespie, was able to take me in. He asked his dad if I could sleep on his floor while I got on my feet. And if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be a situation like where I'm at today. So stuff like that, and then, so he got incarcerated 9 years, and then within 6 months, 7 months of that happening, I had a full-time job at homegrocer.com. It was a grocery warehouse up in Fullerton, and given mine, I lived in Riverside, working graveyard. I don't know how my wrestling coach got me that job because I wasn't 18 at the time, but I was working graveyard from midnight to 10 in the morning, and luckily, during high school, I went to summer school years prior, so I was only having 4 periods to attend my junior year and then 3 periods my senior year, so I was able to make that schedule work. So I did that for for a year and a half, working graveyard, and ended up getting my own apartment by the time I was 17. Graduated high school. I was able to accomplish that, but between, the time that my father got arrested and me graduating high school, I had no parental control. All I had was my wrestling coach. Luckily, wrestling kept me out of trouble and allowed me to complete school, barely graduating, and be able to have somewhat of a successful, graduation. Mm. But after that, I got into commercial plumbing and was able to, generate some income doing that. But I kind of landed into that and just hated it. But my whole concept of everything that I do, I always post that, my past created my actions. I was homeless, I was abandoned, and I was dead broke. I was barely making ends meet, The abandonment is what sucked the most. Not having a father or mother to really either conversate with or get any advice or any of that. Everything that was, advised were pretty much just friends. That's it. So that was my, high school until my early 20s. That's the way I survived.
Well, what do you think, because in those situations, and I was just talking to someone the other day going through some adversity in their life and, some choices they need to make. And I said, how do you respond in times of adversity? You're going to make a choice that's going to challenge you. Do you shut down or do you step up in walking backwards, that post-manifestation awareness process? Have you identified with what it was that when you were at that choice, what, I could go this way or I could go that way? Have you thought about that much at all?
I have. You know, I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary as a real estate agent, and a lot of reflection. A lot of things happened actually prior to my 10-year anniversary as an agent, as a realtor. And I did a lot of reflecting back of why that happened, what I did, what made it different, you know. And the biggest thing is it was always I knew I was better than what my circumstances were, you know. I wanted to be a successful wrestler. I wanted to be something outside of what was already handed to me. So the step up, the process, the follow through, you know, the follow through of almost kind of like proving to, you know, my stepmom, hey, I'm going to do something. You know, in other words, F it. I'm going forward, you know. How do you want it? And then another thing, I didn't want to be separated from my brother. If we would have gone to the schools or to anybody for help, they would have separated us. We would have gone into the system, and then who would have found out, you know, what would have happened after that? We don't know. But it's just a follow through of being something, in other words, proving people wrong. That was the initial startup.
Sure.
You know, that's what caused me to have the follow through, to be able to do something. And also, I was surrounded by love, by friends that took me in. You know, these are just friends, people not even blood family, because I have none. I have nobody I can turn to and say, hey, I need your help. Because of what my mother did in my past, it kind of burned all those relationships. So I don't even know my aunts, uncles. I don't know any of that stuff. You know, all I knew was my friends, and luckily they were wrestlers. You know, that wrestling mentality that you don't give up. You go all 3 rounds, 100%, 100% all the way through. You know, and that's what kind of kept me with my follow through.
Well, I think,
You know?
Miguel, the point that you make here and the story that you're telling is that it's you're not going back and what you didn't choose to do, which we watch and we see and observe, and we both talked about many times, you know, supporting other folks, trying to help people through, you know, whatever experiences they're having is that choice point of, you know what, am I going to just continue to blame and lean back on my story, or is it going to be my history that shapes me? And I think that the one piece that you have and you continue to do, you know, I think that we chatted, we got to connect a week or so ago. Is you know, it's just so great to watch because, you know, you're not held back by that. It inspires you and moves you forward. So you had moved. I think the progression was you were in the plumbing space, and then did you move into property management? Was that your next move in your?
Well, no, dude. The way it's funny how it all works out. Life is a trip. You know, the universe provides certain things for you that you have no idea in the present moment. But sometimes that window of opportunity presents itself, and you just got to go with it, right?
Right.
So there's this one point in my plumbing career, because look at my goal was obviously to try to pick up a scholarship as a wrestler. That didn't happen because at my state meet, I almost fractured my ankle. I still won double overtime, but it just kind of ruined that situation for me. And then the other step was either join the military, go through that route, because I'm not going to be able to afford college. I can't do anything outside of high school that I have to pay for, right? So I got into plumbing, commercial plumbing. That was luckily one of my friends, his uncle owned Continental Plumbing in Mariloma, California, and I ended up joining their apprenticeship program, where it was schooling to become a journeyman. From a journeyman, I figured I'd become a foreman. From a foreman, I'd become a project manager, and from there, I just moved up the ladder as a commercial plumber. You know, and I was pretty prideful about that. I was a commercial plumber, not an actual, you know, plumber per se. I was doing commercial stuff. You know, hospitals, colleges. I helped build the science wing of Pepperdine University in Malibu. You know, so I was excited about doing that. But like I said, you know, I always thought I felt like I always was meant to do more and something outside of that. And towards second year as a plumber, third year as a plumber, give or take, I started realizing this wasn't for me. This wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then you start hating that choice, and you start, you know, figure out how you can call in sick or how can you not call in. But I needed the money, so I never called in sick. I always showed up to work, and I did the best I could with what I had. But I hated it. It just wasn't for me, you know. And I respect construction. Everybody, you know, there's people that choose that career and they make a great career out of that. But it just wasn't for me, right? So I was having a conversation at a dinner table where this gentleman that I knew that was with Century 21, he overheard me talking how much I hated my job, and he knew me pretty well because I was affiliated with his family pretty well. He was like, hey, Miguel, you need to sell real estate. You're bilingual. Everybody likes you. You can communicate very, very well. You have to sell real estate. I hated my job so much, I was like, sure, why not? And then I started Googling, real estate. What is it? I had no clue what real estate was. None. Absolutely nothing at all, And so I Googled it, and I just see these pictures of these agents in the suit and tie, just, and I knew the lifestyle that he had, and I wanted a piece of that, just a piece of it, But ideally, what I really, really wanted deep down inside, I just wanted to show up to work with a suit and tie. That's it. I wanted to put on that outfit. So I signed up for online courses and, did all that, passed my tests. And from there, I was still a plumber. I was still working full time as a plumber now that I'm a licensed real estate agent, but not doing any type of business because I didn't have any business or any referrals. So second nature for me is the gym, right? I'm always there. I've always been somewhat in shape, and to me, the gym is my outlet. That's what keeps me sane. It's my therapy, okay? So at the gym, LA Fitness in Murrieta, I'd always be there in the evenings right after work. I go straight there and do my routine and my workouts, and people would always approach me for help. How can I do this? How can I get stronger? Oh, what do I do with my meal plans? And I was at that time reading one book which changed my life, was Rich Dad Poor Dad, Michael Kiyosaki. That book, it gave me a different mindset, So I kept telling people, oh, it's, this is what I do. I do this routine, and I manage my schedule, and I do this, and my work schedule allows me to be here. Right off the bat, they would ask me, well, what do you do? I'm a realtor. I would just plant that seed. I'm a realtor. Come down the road, they get to know me a little bit better, and next thing you know, they're asking me questions about real estate. They're asking, and I would research it, and I would learn, and I would try to absorb as much as I could when it came to real estate, and I would do it 7 days a week. In the evenings, Saturdays and Sundays, I would do as much as I can. And then what happened is within 3 to 4 months of me getting my license, I finally got 2 deals into escrow. One was a purchase and one was a sale of a home. Did everything from start to finish, got them into escrow, and they both closed at the same time, same month. And I got this big check, And when I got these 2 big checks, this was I just couldn't believe it. It was equivalent to 1 year's pay as a plumber.
Wow.
Okay. And I look at these checks, and at first, I go to Wells Fargo to make the deposits, and all kinds of emotions are going through my head. I can cry, I can laugh, I can do all kinds of stuff. And it was just one of those points in your life where you say, what are you going to do, right? And so I deposit these checks, and they're such large amounts that I've never had that much money in my account before, that they told me I had to do a 10-day hold on each check. So I was pretty bummed about that, but it gave me 10 days to really reflect of what I was going to do with my life. I was still working. I was still going to work. I would show property on the weekends. I would work in the evenings, 7 days a week. I was still doing what I was doing. And on the 10th day, my checks cleared. I checked my accounts, and that money was in there. That was on a Friday, and I remember this very vivid. On that Friday, I got those checks. Saturday and Sunday, I reflected of, okay, I have X amount of money in my account. What decision am I going to do? Am I going to make this a career, or am I still going to work as a plumber? That Monday morning, I woke up and something told me to call in, and I've never called in before because I needed the money. I've always paid bills. This is what I do to survive. I can't call in sick because every penny counts, and you're living on a budget, especially when you're not making a lot of money. I call in and I call my foreman and I tell him I'm not coming in today, that I quit. He starts laughing at me. I was like, dude, stop messing around. Keep in mind, I never called in sick. I said, no, I quit. I'm going to be a real estate agent. I'm done. I don't want to give it 2 weeks. I'm done. And he says, you're burning your bridge. And I said, yes, exactly that. I don't want to have a crutch. When times get rough, and I didn't tell him this, but I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to give it all. I'm going to go 100% with this thing that I'm good at, which is real estate. I successfully closed 2 deals and it rewarded me financially. Of course, that's the way it starts in the very beginning, but then it was something I was actually really good at. It was something so easy for me that it didn't feel like work. You know, I would be gladly, because I had it's a funny story. I had a beat up car when I was in plumbing, obviously, because I couldn't afford anything nice. So I would go and rent a Tahoe for the weekend to show property, you know, and it
so great.
felt, yeah, it felt great, dude, to wake up and know that I'm making a difference and I'm providing somebody a key instrument. I always tell people there's three things in life that are huge commitments, at least in my book, right? One is getting married, two is deciding to have kids, and three is buying a house. It's not something to take lightly. It's not like you're buying a car, you can lease it for 5 years and return it. It's a 30-year commitment. Some may stay there 30 years, some may just stay there 5. It doesn't, but it's still a commitment for 30 years is what you're signing up for, right? So I called in I said, I quit. That's it. That following weekend, I'm in my garage, and obviously, 3 years as a plumber, you accumulate so many different tools that are required by the job that I was looking at. I was like, I can't do this, So that weekend, that Saturday, I had a yard sale, sold everything, pennies on the dollar, got rid of everything that had to do with plumbing, everything, because I didn't want to go back. That's it. I'm not turning back. Besides one Milwaukee drill, and I post that about a lot of my social media links and then my Facebooks and whatnot, because that Milwaukee drill means a lot to me. It's one of those things where you look at it and say, look, this is where I started, this is where I'm at today. And I sold everything. 10 years later, this is what I'm doing.
Wow. Well, I love the Milwaukee drill. I do and I don't, because you learned and grew up a little quicker than me. I still have my black Super 8, which I know you dig, Super 8 Beach Cruiser, because that was my car at 41 years old when I had lost everything, when I was drinking and decided to get sober. And I will never get rid of that bicycle, ever. So I get,
Ever, dude.
no. So then, when did I've had the pleasure, because along this journey, and certainly we'll get into where you're at in current space and time, which is just, all over the board is not a fair statement, because you're so crystal clear and focused. It could look that way, but you're a laser beam. I've had the privilege, and I know that you honor her at the highest level. It's so great to watch. But I've had the privilege to meet your wife and spend some time with her too. And I know she's been a big part of your journey. Tell me about when Autumn came into your life, and how she has been a support. Certainly, you've walked your path, and then here comes this companion in your life. Talk about Autumn.
Man, it's going to be hard not to cry on this one. I'm being serious, dude. I'm not an emotional guy, and I don't get emotional at all. Sometimes my wife says, I don't have a heart, just because I'm very clean, very dry in a sense, very very black and white. This is what we can and cannot do. The emotions, you don't get that involved in. With her, it's a different it's different. If it wasn't for my wife, there's no possible way I'd be here. She brought me obviously to the Lord. She introduced me to that world. But then she also introduced me to something that I have never had since the young age, and it's the unconditional love. For all my flaws, she's the only woman that knows the exact story of exactly what happened in my past to the detail, and never once has judged me for that. When others pointed fingers, she's an amazing woman. God had her for me. I personally think she balances me out. And if it wasn't for her to understanding what triggers my happiness, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing with so many different projects, and yet being very understanding, what moves me and motivates me. But yet it also, with her, it's one of those things where it's almost a rare thing to find nowadays, that true love. And we've been married almost 10 years. And when we first met, everybody thought we were not going to last. Because if you know my past, obviously no parental control, kind of the party scene, same thing, drugs and alcohol, all that stuff, right? And then comes this girl into my life where, oh, she's really going to control Miguel. I don't know. And it wasn't so much the control as this. She showed me something no one else has. So without her, like I said, it makes it even 10 times better with her along the ride for it.
Well, and I think a neat story, just to interrupt, because I think it's so important, and I don't want to, well, I don't think I would forget it. Talk about when you guys got married, because I got that story, years later when you did the ceremony again. Talk about that. You're talking about she didn't judge. Go back to the day you got married.
Okay, so I just told you I used to rent cars to go show property because I didn't have a nice one, right? Well, so once you met me, I had nothing yet. I was still very beginning in my real estate career. I was still, kind of living paycheck to paycheck. So it was I had nothing, in a sense. So when we first met, we dated. 4 months later, she was pregnant with my daughter, and then, we had our daughter, and then when I saw her give birth to my daughter, and then saw, that whole transition of that 9 months in a year, I really grew a lot with my wife and with my girlfriend at the time, and I asked her to marry me. Literally 3 days after my daughter was born, like, this is my wife. I want you to be my wife. I asked her on the way to Loma Linda Hospital because we almost lost my daughter when she was born. She got stuck in the birth canal, so we had a big, one of those scenarios where it wasn't really good. So we're in Temecula, driving to Loma Linda every day to visit our daughter. She was in NICU, and on the third day, because we couldn't stay the night there, driving there, I said, I want to marry you. Call your pastor, call whoever. I want to marry you now. I don't want to wait. Let's get married. So we got married in the home that I live now. In the home that I live in now, we got married in the backyard. Pastor came out and married us. I didn't have no money to give her a ring. I had nothing. So we got married, and then she went to Walmart and bought herself a fake ring to have, to show that she was married. And she wore it proudly for a whole year because, we were married. We didn't have a big ceremony. We didn't do nothing fancy. We couldn't, like I said, we couldn't afford it. So a whole year passes, and our 1 year anniversary, I surprised her with her diamond ring with 365 flowers as well. This is a woman that doesn't care what I have, what I don't have. It has nothing to do with anything materialistic.
Well, we talked on the phone last week. You were saying, John, I have to go out and buy stuff for her. She won't buy stuff. She's not caught up. She's not about that.
Yeah, and dude, I'm totally opposite. It's like whatever I want, I get type deal. And with her, she doesn't do it. So I have to spoil the heck out of her because she deserves everything. She really does. She's one of those what she calls it, the wash and throw. She'd rather go shop at the wash and throw, where you go buy an item, wash it once, and then you throw it away instead of spending a little extra money and get something you really want.
So great.
And then after that, obviously you're there, bud. But our wedding, 5 years later, I was able to afford a nice wedding for her.
Yeah. How good. How great. So you talk about your journey and certainly, your wife walking right alongside you. They say behind every good man, or some cliche like that. That's a bunch of baloney, man.
Yeah.
She's right beside you. And we know that. Talk about you've had a very successful real estate career, and then certainly you have had a hobby of yours was rehabbing cars, and maybe that's not the right term for it because I'm not in that space.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it's motorcycles and cars, and then it's flipping houses, which, while maintaining a successful real estate business that isn't suffering, that continues to have a trajectory of growth, expanding the footprint of the areas you're serving and your price ranges too. I mean, I've observed all those things. And so you've got the real estate business going. You're buying vehicles, fixing them up, and flipping houses, and now you're in the fitness industry. You've opened 2 gyms. in the last year. What I want to go to, Miguel, is this mystery of time. And I know that it's something that people are very fascinated by when they look at productive people and all the things that they have going on, and just wonder how they do it. Because the true disclosure here is you're a great father. Those babies, I mean, you're like a papa bear with those two girls. I know that, believe me. And
Oh yeah.
um, yet you've got all these things going on, and people talk about time management, but I think that the piece that we've talked about a lot is choice management and boundaries. Talk about the choices that you make, because so many people think, I don't have time, but I really believe that it comes into the choices we make of where we put our time, and then the boundaries. What type of choices and what type of boundaries are in place for you so that your time is put in an effective space?
That's the thing. I say it over and over and over. Time is probably the one thing you can never buy enough of, and you can never buy enough. You can't buy it back. So every day that you wake up, there's a purpose for it. You have to have something that's going to drive you to do something with your time. And every minute, every hour is accounted for. When I wake up until I go to bed, it is used 100%. You will never catch, like if you ask me what's on TV, I have no clue whatsoever. What's the most popular TV show? I have none. I don't understand. I don't watch it because I don't have the time for that. It's not important to me. My business, my family, my daughters, my friends, that's important to me. So that time has to have, it has to be accounted for. It has to be used wisely. You have most people nowadays spending more time trying to plan a weekend than they try to do, their business or their relationship with their wife or husband or their children. I make sure I don't waste any of it. So my boundaries are always, I have a very small circle, just like you, John. Our circle is small in a sense. We want to have, we want to help as many people as possible. But if you're not within those parameters where it's going to be either a distraction or something that's not motivating to be, successful, whatever it is, I just X that out. I don't associate, or I don't have the time for it, so I don't worry about what's going to happen this weekend. I worry about today. I handle what needs to happen today, but then I also set up times for the future. I always project, okay, this is what I expect to happen in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and so on. Every quarter, something's going to change. So my time's always going to be, I value it so much, and I talk about it a lot, just because, by the time you figure out, by the time they figure out that it's too late, their life has passed them by. It really has, because they wasted so much time.
Well,
The time that,
one of the things too, Miguel, that I'm fortunate enough to have friends like you, that are certainly very productive, and then I get to work in the productivity environment with very successful people, and when you work with people over a long period of time, you build friendships with them, and we connected on the phone for 20, 30 minutes last week, and I don't know if we had chatted on the phone live for 3, 4, or 5 months, and that's a common space, is that there's this. You'll see people that they need to be with people all the time. It's this neediness, and yet when I talk to a lot of productive people, I talk to you too. We pick up right where we left off, and the interesting thing is, I think that where there's that lack of neediness is there's depth in the relationship instead of
laws of attraction.
yeah,
The laws of attraction. And basically, I get along with you so well because we both are like-minded, but yet have very different successes, very different. My success is different than your success, right?
sure.
So when we do talk and we conversate, it's value behind the conversation. It's not gossiping. It's not, and it's not even about business. It could be just, hey, how's your wife? How's this? How's your daughter? Things like that connect, and then we throw in a little bit here and a little bit there. Those are valuable friendships and valuable time with anybody. And those little simple conversations gives you different ideas of different things, because it comes up of, oh, maybe I'm lacking here. Maybe I need to change this. Or John's doing this and he's doing very productive, and maybe I need to change this. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's just like your declaration that you had posted last night. I mean, it was fabulous. I mean, your post of here's where I've been, here's where I'm at, and I'm not stopping. And no matter where we're all at, it's just that energy that we share amongst each other is great. Let's move into self-made family. It's the self-made realtor thematically, and I think it's less of a brand, and it just happens to be a brand. But I think it's more of a way of life. It's your purpose. It's who you are, what you do, and what you stand for. So I guess if you look at proper branding, it truly is. I mean, I think so many people put a brand out there. What do we want it to say so people think this about us? And it's almost this manipulative marketing that takes place. Whereas with you, self-made family is what you're about. Talk about philosophically what self-made family means, because self-made family goes across all areas of your business. It's self-made realtor, self-made family. You look at your fitness, your gyms thematically. Talk about that thing, the values of it, and what it's truly about to your soul.
And I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of people are confused a little bit, right?
Yes.
So, self-made, if you just take self-made by itself, it's very gratifying to one person, right? I did this, I did that, right? It's all I. But that to me is very negative. Why? Because it's not always about I. If it wasn't for this person, we wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. So when I created self-made family, it's almost like an oxymoron. You're taking an individual type scenario and now adding family, which is a group of people, right? Whether it's blood or not, it's family. It's a tribe or whatever you want to call it, right? So if you put self-made family together, it's a group of like-minded individuals striving for success. And everybody's success is completely different than the other. It doesn't have nothing to do with money or materialistic things. It's one person's mindset to be better tomorrow than they are today, 100%. So when I branded Self-Made Family, incorporated Self-Made Family as a whole, is exactly that. Like-minded individuals striving for success. That's why I have Self-Made Realtor, Self-Made Real Estate. I have Self-Made Training Facilities, Self-Made Family, the brand. That's what I'm promoting, and it's and my other slogan that I registered and trademarked was, where champions are self-made. Champions are self-made. You take the initiative to take one step ahead. That's all you're doing. It starts with one step. That's all it is.
Well, one of the things is I work with CEOs and managers, leadership throughout, well, North America and Asia and Europe that I've worked with. The one piece that I share with them, especially with, and real estate agents, independent contractors, and where you're a lone ranger, you go out and you do your thing and you make it happen. But as a whole, it's typically people that want to be a part of something, a group, and so they're led by someone. And the most important thing is to get people to understand, serve the whole, and the part will get served back tenfold, with the principle of personal responsibility in it. And I think that's what you do so well. It's a fine line to walk. And underneath it all, and again, it's thematic with very successful people. This example right now, taking your time when you're at the opening of a second gym, an hour here to contribute back to people thematically, that I want people to capture, that's a thread that you've carried forward, is contribution and abundance. Contribution and abundance. It's very interesting. Although you've been a competitor in wrestling, and then certainly in the men's physique where you got your pro card, and now in the powerlifting, not once have I really ever heard you talk about your competition. You always do this little thing called personal responsibility. Every choice you make is personal responsibility. Talk about personal responsibility, because it's a tough principle for people to get.
And that's the thing. It's a very tough and it can either make you or break you. It really can. My responsibility, if I can change one person's life, I will. If I can make a difference in somebody with my story, why not? You know, and now I voice it out. 10 years later, I'm finally voicing out what has happened and what's my responsibility. My responsibility is to try to motivate as many people as I can and give others the opportunity to be as successful as I am, if not more. That's my responsibility. And it's not just in business, but it's in life in general. Life is one of those things where it could be really mean sometimes, if that makes any sense, you know. But I always tell everybody, from my trainers, you know, to all my trainers, to my real estate agents that work underneath me, and to my family and everybody else, it's like, for every problem, there's a solution, okay? It may not be the solution that you want at the present moment, but there's a solution. And out of that solution, there's a learning curve to it. You know, if things didn't happen to me like they did in the past, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be as aggressive with my approach to success. If everything was handed to me, there's no possible way. And whenever something's handed to you, like you get these people that win the lottery or do anything of that nature, they lose it in a matter of a couple of years. Sure. You know, but when you earn it and when you have the responsibility to have others do the same, it's rewarding. It's 100% rewarding. I have, look at with my personal training concept, right? I took everything that I hated from these gyms, these big corporate gyms, and nothing against them. They got their model. That's what works for them, right? But these independent, these trainers are getting, you know, they're the ones with the craft. They're the ones that are motivating and helping people by saving their life, whether it's weight management or depression or anything. They're really saving these people's lives because they're looking to progress in the fitness area, right? Mm-hmm. So I took self-made training facility and I created this home, this place that they call their own because they're independent contractors, but they can actually be good at their craft and get rewarded for it and be their own business. You know, to give them that, and it's not so much about okay, hey, I need memberships, more memberships, upsell. No, you provide a service. The service is not for sale. That's just something that you're teaching. Now, you're going to get compensated, obviously, for it, but each one of them has a different service. So they have the opportunity to be super successful. I mean, I have personal trainers, dude, that are making $8,000, $9,000 a month, working 20 to 40 hours a week, loving what they do. They're actually not even working. They're carrying out their passion, which is providing a service to you know, the athlete or the consumer.
Well, and you know what it talks to, Miguel, is that certainly there's time and energy that we put into things, but you know what you're saying, and it's something I had shared a couple of weeks ago, or about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was up in Toronto, is, you know, stop working so hard and start working from your heart. And it's pretty interesting what happens to appear. I mean, certainly there's hard work in it, but if you come from a heart space first, it's very interesting what kind of unfolds in that space. Very interesting. Talk about. Go ahead.
And it's amazing to watch, but it really is. You know, you see people's demeanor change, you see their character change, you see their whole energy just change by letting them be doing it from the heart, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good.
You know,
what would you say from a business aspect? And again, to recap, because we've talked a lot of personal stuff, which is fabulous. I mean, the personal stuff is what really ends up holding people back. But, you know, and looking at your business journey, what would you give as the best advice you could give to people, no matter what they do, whether they're in a job? You know, it's interesting. People, I hate my job and I hate my boss, and or even entrepreneurs. It's interesting. I hear them say that they're not happy in what they're doing. But, you know, in looking at an approach in business, what would you give as advice to anyone, whether they are in a job or in creating their own business?
Whether it's a job, whether you're an independent contractor, whatever it may be, do it so well they can't ignore you. Do it so good they can't ignore you. You know, if you have that boss that you just don't get along with, but if you do your job so good, or whatever, that task so good, they can't ignore you. They cannot tell you thank you. They cannot say, hey, I appreciate you. They cannot say, I can't give you a pay raise because you're not busting your butt. You know? So just do it so well that you can't be ignored. That's exactly how I live my life. In my perception of myself, I do it so well, no one can beat me, is the way I think about it. Even though I know for a fact there's other great people out there, but what I do it so well, no one can ignore me.
So great. Anything else that you'd like to share, Miguel, along your journey? Because here's what we know too, is that things are, you've had your challenges and things are great, but you face challenges too. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with folks today?
Well, with the challenges, like for everybody has problems, everybody has issues that come up. One thing is never showcase it out in public. For one, just handle your business, get things done. And anything that I can share with anybody is that as long as you keep pushing through things, things will eventually happen. Like anything that you do in life, you do it over and over and over, and you're getting positive results from it, keep doing it. If you're doing something over and over and you get negative results from it, stop it and change it. Do something else.
Yeah.
Always reevaluate yourself. Check yourself. Every 30, 90 days, check yourself. See how you're doing. See how you're progressing. Write down your what you plan on achieving and make those goals realistic so you can achieve them and then move on to the next. So always keep progressing. Things will get tough. Things will fail. I've failed so many times, but not once has anybody ever seen it.
Yeah, so good. So let's talk about this. What we know is that, I think it's just kind of natural with the industry I'm in and that you're in. There's a large amount of real estate agents that are listening to this. And I think after listening to it, they'd be more than happy to send you business. So first place is, if anyone, talk about the areas of real estate that you service. And then give them your contact details as far as your real estate business is concerned.
So with my real estate, I service anything that's primarily Southern California. So Riverside County, Orange County, LA County, and San Diego County. Some parts of the high desert. Anybody can reach me on my website. Obviously, it's www.realtorwithstyle.com. They can reach me on my cell at all times, which is 951-634-8843. But that's where my real estate, that's what I service. I keep my business very black and white when it comes to anything. This is what I can and cannot do for people. And that's what works. And it allows me to do the best I can in those counties.
Good. And what I want to share with everyone too is, you've heard about all the different business interests that Miguel has going on. What you need to know is he's not a part-time real estate agent. He's a human being with a huge capacity, and you can see on social media the continual positive testimonials he gets. So I can tell you from my own reputation, you're going to thank me if you send people to him. Talk about the gym locations and how people can connect and get amongst the fitness environment you've got going on.
That is all. Yeah, Self-Made Training Facility. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and also selfmadetrainingfacility.com. We have 2 locations right now. One in Murrieta, California, which is 41615 Date Street in Murrieta. And then we have our second location that has our grand opening and soft opening December 7th and January 30th is our grand opening. And that's in Corona, California, off of 185 North McKinley. Best training facilities you can possibly think of. These are direct, personal training driven. So if you're looking to get in shape and you want the best of the best personal trainers, we offer them. Murrieta has 30 personal trainers that you can choose from. Corona, right now, we're not even open. They already have 20 trainers signed up, ready to start with us as of Monday. And we're going to grow to about 35 here in Corona. With Self-Made Training Facility, we do plan on opening up a 3rd location, most likely Orange County, in between Orange County, San Diego County. So be on the lookout for that. And then once that gets established, we will be doing franchising with Self-Made Training Facility. And opportunities there present themselves as well.
Awesome. And I think the final and most important piece, especially after everyone's listened to this interview, is, and it couldn't end on a higher note. The thing that I want to point out to folks is that, wherever you're at some point in your life, the first thing that you think about is you want to change, you want relief, you want happiness and freedom. But there's a two-part benefit that happens, and this is a great example of it with Miguel, and I'd like to think with myself too in the changes that I've made. There's a second benefit that comes from it, and then it's the ability to contribute. It's the ability to give back and to inspire people. As Miguel's taken an hour out of his time today to share with you, and now Miguel's taking it to the next level. I mean, he's contributed at a very high level by just walking the talk and supporting people, but now he's taken it to a more formal space. So talk about what you're going to be launching now on Periscope, Miguel.
Officially starting today, which is Monday, December 1st, I will be launching Periscope. Periscope, I'll be doing it weekly, if not more. Periscope on certain topics, what it is to be an entrepreneur. But not only just the entrepreneur, but as a whole, whether you're a husband, a father, anything in life in general, and you guys want to pick my brain, ask any questions, straight off the cuff, no rehearsal, no nothing. That's what's great about Periscope. It's live streaming. You can ask right there, and then you can follow me. It's at Self-Made Family INC, at Self-Made Family INC, and you can follow me there on Periscope, and then also Instagram and Facebook with any additional information.
Awesome. Well, Miguel, I honor you. I love you, brother. Anything else you'd like to share before we close out?
John, I greatly want to thank you for this opportunity to kind of showcase a little bit of what we're about, what I'm about. I appreciate our friendship, as you know, always, and thank you, bud.
All right, bud. Have a great night. Tell the family hello.
I will do.
Okay.